Welcome to Lion Hub, where we dive into the wildest stories of the king of the jungle. Imagine a remote corner of Africa where the night brings terror, where a pride of lions turned villages into hunting grounds, claiming up to 2,000 human lives. Today, we're uncovering the true story of the Njombe man-eaters, the deadliest lions in history. Follow George Rushby, a fearless game warden, as he battles these cunning predators in a fight for survival. From gruesome attacks to relentless hunts, this is a tale of courage, tragedy, and the raw power of nature. Roar with us, hit that subscribe button, and let's step into the wild. In the early 20th century, in the remote region of Njombe, Tanzania, a series of horrifying events unfolded that would cement one of the most infamous cases of man-eating lions in history. The story centers on George Rushby, a British game warden, and his relentless pursuit to stop a pride of lions responsible for killing and consuming an estimated 1,500 to 2,000 people between 1932 and 1947. This chilling tale, drawn from historical records, showcases the raw power of nature, human resilience, and the thin line between survival and tragedy in the wild. Njombe, a region in southern Tanzania, was a sparsely populated area in the 1930s, characterized by vast savannas, dense bushlands, and scattered villages. The local population, primarily from the Bena and Hehe tribes, lived off subsistence farming and herding. Lions were a known presence, but they typically avoided humans, preying on antelope, zebra, and other wildlife. However, in 1932, something changed. A pride of lions, later estimated to number around 15 to 20, began targeting humans with unprecedented ferocity. These were no ordinary lions. They were cunning, bold, and relentless, earning them the moniker the man-eaters of Njombe. The attacks began in small, isolated incidents. Villages would disappear at night, their remains found days later, partially consumed. Panic spread as the frequency of attacks increased. Entire villages were abandoned as people fled, fearing the unseen predators that struck under the cover of darkness. The lions seemed to operate with almost supernatural precision, avoiding traps and ambushing their prey with devastating efficiency. George Rushby, a young British game warden and elephant hunter, arrived in Njombe in the mid-1930s, tasked with addressing the growing crisis. Rushby was no stranger to the African wilderness. Born in 1900, he had spent years in East Africa, tracking big game and working as a safari guide. Known for his courage and deep knowledge of animal behavior, Rushby was the colonial administration's go-to man for dealing with rogue animals. When he heard of the Njombe lion's reign of terror, he took on the challenge, unaware that it would become the most grueling mission of his life. Rushby's first encounter with the aftermath of the lion's attacks was sobering. He visited a village where a man had been dragged from his hut the previous night. The scene was gruesome. Bloodstains marked the ground, and fragments of clothing were scattered among claw marks. The villagers, gripped by fear, spoke of the lions as if they were spirits, untouchable and vengeful. Rushby, however, saw them for what they were, highly intelligent predators that had learned to exploit human vulnerability. Rushby began his hunt by studying the lions' patterns. He noted that they attacked at night, often targeting isolated huts or people walking alone. Unlike typical lion behavior, these animals showed no fear of humans, even entering villages to drag victims from their homes. Rushby hypothesized that the lions had developed a taste for human flesh, possibly triggered by a scarcity of natural prey or by feeding on unburied bodies during a period of famine or disease. To track the pride, Rushby employed local trackers and set up baited traps using livestock. The lions, however, were cunning. They avoided traps, ignored poisoned bait, and seemed to anticipate human movements. Rushby resorted to a more direct approach, hunting on foot. Armed with a .375 Holland & Holland rifle, he patrolled the bush, following spoor and listening for the telltale roars that echoed through the night. One particular incident stands out in Rushby's accounts, later detailed in his book, No More the Tusker. In 1936, while camping near a village, Rushby was awakened by screams. A young man, a farmer named Makwawa, had been seized by a lion while sleeping in his hut. Rushby and his trackers followed the trail at dawn, finding Makwawa's remains, a few bones and a shredded cloth. The lion responsible, a massive male with a scarred muzzle, had left clear tracks. Rushby followed them for hours, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. The trail led to a thicket where the lion was waiting. As Rushby crept forward, the lion charged, its roar shattering the silence. Rushby fired, hitting the lion in the shoulder, but it kept coming. A second shot to the chest stopped it mere feet from him. The villagers, who had followed at a distance, erupted in cheers, but Rushby knew this was only one of many. The pride was still out there, and the killing would continue. Over the next decade, Rushby killed several lions from the Njombe pride, but the attacks persisted. The lions adapted, splitting into smaller groups to evade hunters. They targeted women collecting firewood, children playing near villages, and even armed men. By 1940, the death toll had climbed into the hundreds, and the colonial government faced mounting pressure to act. Rushby was joined by other hunters, but the lions' intelligence made them elusive. One tragic story involved a man named Njombe, a local trader who traveled between villages. In 1942, Njombe was returning home at dusk when two lionesses ambushed him. His screams alerted nearby villagers, but by the time they arrived, only his bloodied sandals remained. Rushby later found one of the lionesses and killed her, but the loss of Njombe, a well-known figure in the region, deepened the community's despair. By 1947, Rushby's relentless pursuit began to yield results. He had killed or driven off most of the pride, and the attacks dwindled. The final lion, an old female believed to be the matriarch, was cornered in a ravine after a grueling 3-day hunt. Rushby described her as gaunt but fierce, her eyes glowing in the firelight as he took aim. His shot ended the reign of the Njombe man-eaters, but not before they had claimed an estimated 1,500 to 2,000 lives. A staggering toll that remains one of the deadliest cases of man-eating animals in recorded history. Rushby's campaign against the Njombe lions made him a legend, but he took no joy in it. In his writings, he speculated on the causes, a combination of habitat disruption, human encroachment, and possibly a cultural practice of leaving bodies unburied during a cholera outbreak, which may have conditioned the lions to see humans as prey. He also noted the lions' extraordinary intelligence, describing them as almost human in their ability to outwit hunters. The people of Njombe slowly rebuilt their lives, but the scars remained. Stories of the man-eaters were passed down, blending fact with myth. Rushby himself retired from hunting in the 1950s, haunted by the lives lost and the sheer scale of the tragedy. He died in 1968, leaving behind a legacy as one of Africa's most skilled yet reluctant heroes. The Njombe lion attacks remain a stark reminder of the unpredictable power of wildlife. Unlike the more famous Tsavo man-eaters, whose story was dramatized in films, the Njombe case is less known but far deadlier. It underscores the delicate balance between humans and predators in shared landscapes, a tension that persists in parts of Africa today. This true story, drawn from Rushby's accounts and historical records, captures a grim chapter in human-animal conflict. It is a tale of courage, loss, and the relentless drive to survive against overwhelming odds.